Hey, what's up, guys? It is Mr. UFC Fan 100 coming back at you with another video. UFC on Versus 5 is just concluded, so I will give you the results on that card. The first fight was Edwin Figueroa versus Jason Reinhardt. I picked Jason Reinhardt to get this victory, and Figueroa defeated Reinhardt via TKO at 50 seconds of the second round. In a lightweight fight, Jacob Volkman faced Danny Castillo. I picked Jacob Volkman to win this fight, and Jacob Volkman did win this fight by unanimous decision, 29-28, all three. The third fight was Cole Miller defeating TJ O'Brien via submission by a one-arm guillotine choke at 2:28 of the second round. I did pick Cole Miller in that fight, so at this point I'm 2-1. The fourth fight was Alex Caceres versus Jimmy Hetz. I picked Jimmy Hetz to win this fight, and Hetz defeated Caceres via submission by rear naked choke at 3:12 of the second round. So I'm 3-1. The fifth fight was Carlos Vemola versus Ronnie Marks. I picked Carlos Vemola to win this fight, and Ronnie Marks defeated Vemola by unanimous decision, 30-27, all three. The sixth fight was Kyle Noke versus Ed Herman. I picked Ed Herman to win this fight, and Herman did win this fight by submission by an inverted heel hook at 4:15 of the very first round. So I am 4-2 at this point. In the seventh fight, the co-main event of the preliminary card, Joseph Benavidez versus Eddie Wineland. I picked Eddie Wineland, and Joseph Benavidez defeated Wineland by unanimous decision, 30-27, all three. And in the main event of the preliminary card, CB Dalloway faced Jared Hammond. I picked CB Dalloway, and that one didn't work out. Jared Hammond defeated Dalloway via TKO punches at 3:38 of the second round. Excuse me. So I am 4-4. Alright, now we go to the main card. It was a welterweight fight between Amir Sadallah and Duane Ludwig. A very back and forth fight. Sadallah looked really tired in the middle of the first round. Not putting anything behind his punches and kicks. He was throwing a weird kick. It was the same kick that Anderson Silva used to defeat Vitor Belfort. And he was throwing that kick a lot, pretty much. And Ludwig had answers for it. Very good punches, in and out punches, stayed inside the pocket for most of the fight, and ended up getting the unanimous decision win. So that was great. I'm 5-4 right now. The second fight of the main card was Donald Cowboy Cerrone versus Charles Oliveira. Another, back and forth fight. It ended in the first round with Cerrone getting the TKO. Hit him with a body hook, a left body hook. Dropped him. It looked like Oliveira was going for a heel hook. While Cerrone was on top of him, but Cerrone slipped out and just started pounding away on Oliveira, and ended up getting the TKO in. Alright. The third fight of the main card was Jim Miller and Ben Henderson. I will admit, I was out of line talking about Ben Henderson. I will admit that. Carnius797 made some very good points in the comment section. I did watch those fights, Carnius. Henderson looked extremely impressive in both of those fights against Cerrone. I apologize for any comments I made towards Henderson. If you like Ben Henderson and you were offended by my comments, I apologize. Henderson, a very dominant victory over Jim Miller tonight. He did prove me wrong. Uh, I watched that Anthony Pettis fight over. A very back and forth fight it was, and so I was wrong. Uh, there were a lot of times when Jim Miller was, getting lots of submission hooks in there, but he just was too tired because Ben Henderson was wearing him out so much. And I think that there were a lot of times that if Jim Miller hadn't been so tired, Jim Miller could have probably finished him on 4 different occasions. Because every single time he had the opening, he would go for a guillotine, or he would go for a heel hook, or he'd go for a Kimura, or he'd go for an armbar. He even went in for a triangle at one point. So I mean, there were a lot of times when Miller had the chance to defeat Henderson, but Henderson, has that wrestling background, and just, you know, he got the best of him. So yeah, I was wrong. So I am 7-5, 7-4. My bad. No, 6-5 at this point. 6-5. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. Uh, so and then the main event was Dan Hardy facing Chris Lytle. Not many people knew this, but Chris Lytle announced to Dana White that this fight would be his last fight. Went in there against a very tough Dan Hardy, going on a 3-fight losing streak. And it was an extremely, extremely back and forth fight. It was very, very competitive fight. It was pretty much a boxing match until the very end. It did not go to a decision. Um, there were a lot of times, they would just. It was kind of like. It was probably 3/4 of the way to being Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner without the crowd reaction. The crowd seemed, dead at a lot of points in this fight, but, there wasn't as much moving around as there was with Griffin and Bonner, but it was still the same fight, just the crowd reaction and the moving around and the different points. But it was a very good fight. They stayed in the pocket for about 9/10 of the fight. So, uh, so Dan Hardy in the third round, Dan Hardy goes for a takedown, uh, just to try to get a submission because he lost the first 2 rounds. So he goes for a takedown, and immediately Chris Lytle gets in a guillotine choke and submits Dan Hardy to win his final MMA fight of his career. So Chris Lytle won 5 of his last 6 fights of his career, and Dan Hardy has lost the last 4 fights he has been in. 1 by knockout, 2 by decision, and 1 now by submission. If Dan Hardy does not get cut, it is just because he is an exciting fighter. If he does get cut, he deserves to get cut, because unless you're Vanderlei Silva, you don't stay around after 4 straight losses. You don't. It just doesn't happen. So it was a very good card. I believe I ended up 7-5. I think that's how I ended up, 7-5. So yeah, 7-5. So that's a little bit less than 75%. So I'm pretty proud of my predictions. What did you think? How did you think the fights went? How did you think that the fights? What were your predictions? What were your predictions in the fight? How do you like the way the fights turned out? Just let me know in the comment section. Personal message, whatever. Video response, do whatever. Rate, subscribe. You know the drill. So that's pretty much it. I'll catch you guys later.